You can make NoFap 33 times easier for yourself if you study your urges the way top MMA fighters study their opponent. Because when you understand your opponent, you stop fighting blindly and instead you start gaining the upper hand over the urge. But 10 years ago, I did not know that, and I relapsed a lot following the common just distract yourself advice. And every time I told myself, I promised myself, like this would be the last time, but already I had this whisper of doubt in the back of my mind. Nah, you will fail again the same way you failed last time. But I started training my mind to see urges with clarity, and then they lost their power over me. And I will show you exactly what I did in this video with a very simple 9-minute workout that you can download at the end of this. And over the years, I trained more than 300 guys improve their mental strength as well, so that they could master their urges as well. All right, so let's jump right in. And by the way, you can download this sheet to really give yourself a reminder and to keep your mental strength training as sharp as possible. All right. So here's the truth. You can't really fight what you don't understand. And most men don't really know what an urge actually is. And the parts of an urge that they notice most are the lust, the rationalizations, the excuses, the inner critic, and the judgments, the thoughts, and one feeling predominantly. And they mostly also fight in the realm of thoughts, fighting words with words. But that is actually the weakest form of a fight that you can put up, because there are many more components that are much more powerful than the thoughts and even the lust. And when you train your mind to become aware of those components, you can actually start controlling them. But first, let me show you why urges oftentimes feel completely impossible to beat. Imagine a ball of tangled wires, and each wire is one emotion or a thought like fear, shame, lust, doubt, a thought like just one peak, I should not feel this lust, whatever. Each one by itself could be easy, could be manageable, but if they're all tangled up, they start multiplying. And that's the power of disentanglement. Because if you experience an urge with low clarity, let's say this one has 3 components, fear, lust, and a thought, just one peak, those intensities start multiplying. And let's say each component has an intensity of 10 out of 10, just to make the math easier, 10 lust, 10 fear, and 10 thought, then this urge feels like 1,000 volts of pressure and impossible to beat. And that's why you often feel so powerless, because you're fighting all of them at once and you don't even see where the punches are coming from. But the 9-minute workout works because it separates the wires and gives you high clarity. When you experience the same urge, the same components, the same intensities with clarity, they stop multiplying and instead only add up, meaning 10 plus 10 plus 10, and all of a sudden you only have 30 volts of pressure, which is 33 times weaker. Still something we need to manage, but way easier to handle. It's like taking the blindfold off and suddenly you know actually who you're fighting and things become manageable. But how do you separate the wires? How do you experience the urge with so much clarity? Okay, this is where you understand urges better than 99% of guys and actually can start winning every single time. Because every urge is made up of 4 layers. The inner pictures, inner talk, feelings, and physical body sensations. That's it. And in mental strength training, we use the grid to really separate and gain as much clarity as possible. To really map out urges, the most important categories are see in, hear in, feel in, and feel out. It sounds very simple, but it's a skill that almost nobody ever trains. We just don't get taught to experience our inner world with that much clarity. And instead we just categorize everything as kind of like thought inside of us. And especially as a beginner in mental strength training, it's best to focus on feel in and feel out, because that's where you have the biggest chances to actually win and beat the urge. And to gain even more clarity and even more strength, you can observe 5 different qualities of each component that you're discovering and feel in and feel out. Because every sensation you're discovering has a location, it has a shape, a movement, quality, and intensity. So what does that look like when it comes to an urge? What does it look like in real life, basically? So what do the feel out and the feel in components of an urge actually look like? You can think of it like this. Feel out is everything that you feel on your skin or in your muscles, if you will. Like the weight of your body on your chair right now, or the weight of your body in your feet right now, or the sensation of your clothes on your skin. All those are feel out components. But what also are feel out components are sensations like you're noticing your face is blushing, or you're getting a dry mouth, or your heart rate is speeding up, or your breathing getting shallower. All those can be components of an urge. In my own experience, for example, I would get clammy hands, and that would tell me that an urge was building, was arising, and I could catch it way earlier than I used to. Next, feeling components are the sensory component of an emotion moving through your body, like fear, shame, anger, disgust, loneliness, sadness, lust. All those can come up in connection with an urge. And they have to happen somewhere in your body. They have to have a location, a shape, a movement, certain qualities to them, like warm or cold or stabby or soft, and also obviously a certain intensities on a scale of like 1 to 10. For example, you probably know the expression of having a lump in your throat when you're like scared, when you're experiencing fear, or like when you're happy and excited, you're having these butterflies in your stomach, this tingly kind of prickly sensation in your tummy. And the stronger your mental strength becomes and the more clarity you gain, the more components you can actually discover, the more mastery you gain over your urges. But here's where most guys actually screw up. They finally start seeing the urge with clarity, but then they judge it. I shouldn't feel this, I'm failing again. This is too strong. All these judgments are actually entangling you with the urge again. Instead of just observing the urge, judging it actually pulls you right back into the storm. Because the trick is not to fight or to fix the urge, but rather to just observe it. And next to clarity, there are two more aspects to mental strength that make it a lot easier to keep observing, to stay in control and master your urges. And I will get into those in the next video, and I will teach everything on this channel. So if that is actually helpful, then subscribe, because I will just teach everything about mental strength on here. Or you can just straight jump into my mental strength gym, where you can train together with me multiple times a month and really get into honing your mind, becoming as mentally strong as possible. So when an urge arises, when lust arises, when anger arises, when sadness arises, do your best to stay calm, to not get entangled. Name the sensation, separate the layers, feel in, feel out, observe the change of the qualities, the location, the movement, the shape, the intensities, and just keep pulling the urge apart instead of running away from it or fighting it. That's how you drain all the power out of the urge. All right, so let's get into the reset. And the main idea of the reset for now is to get out of your head and into your body. That massively increases your chances for success. And we are not going to focus on seeing, not on hearing, just feel in and feel out and the qualities. And we're going to have a 9-minute workout separated into 3-minute chunks. And you can download the free workout session down below where I guide you through everything. All right, so for the first 3 minutes, we focus on feel out, and more precisely, your breathing, how the breathing in your belly feels in your muscles. Literally, how the muscles in your belly feel when you breathe in and breathe out, when the muscles expand and contract. For the next 3 minutes, we also focus on feel out, but we focus on relaxing all the muscles that usually hold tension. The muscles around your eyes, the jaw and tongue, your belly, your hands, and your pelvic floor. Those are usually very tense when an urge is already building. All right, and for the last 3 minutes, we focus on feel in, and you pick one component and one quality. Like for example, you pick lust, if you can detect it in your body, and then you keep track of its location for as long as necessary. And if it wants to move, like if it wants to change locations, you let it change locations. If you keep track of its intensity, if it wants to get more intense, like from a 5 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10, or from 5 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10 or something, you let it change intensities. You let the urge, or in this case, you let the lust move through your body. You just let it change. You let it move through you instead of being moved by it, instead of being driven by it to act out, because then it finally stops controlling you and instead you stay in control. That is the power of clarity. And I've watched hundreds of guys train this, and the moment real clarity hits, everything changes. Because the urge that seemed so powerful, that seemed like this unbeatable monster, suddenly becomes just another feeling that has to vanish eventually. So 10 years ago, I thought breaking free was about fighting harder. But the truth is, mental strength isn't really about more force. One of the big 3 components is clarity. And when you start seeing an urge for what it really is, it starts losing a lot of its power. And that's when the game really changes for you. And you stop being this guy that just keeps fighting harder and harder and still stays stuck in the same cycle over and over again. And instead, you become the man who masters his urges and his drives, the good ones and the bad ones. That's what I'd call true freedom. And that's what I teach you on this channel. So if you want to train that level of mental strength with me, then subscribe. And in the next video, I show you the other components of mental strength that help you stay calm even in the middle of a storm. Keep training and keep getting stronger.